In the sterile hush of the penthouse suite atop Manhattan's glittering skyline, 18-year-old Isabella Voss collapsed to her knees, the marble floor cold and unforgiving against her trembling palms. The last doctor's words echoed like a death knell in her skull. "There's nothing more we can do, Miss Voss. Your body, it's shutting down. Go home. Make peace." 25 specialists, the best money could buy, flown in from Vienna to Vancouver, had paraded through her life like ghosts, their white coats a parade of pity. Her empire, inherited at 16 after her parents' yacht vanished in a storm off the Amalfi Coast, felt like ashes in her mouth. Betrayed by the ocean that swallowed her family, by the boardroom vultures who whispered of her fragility behind crystal decanters, by her own body that now rebelled with unrelenting pain. Fibromyalgia laced with something rarer, unnamed, a phantom thief stealing her breath. Tears carved hot rivers down her cheeks as she clutched the ultrasound printout, a blurry shadow mocking her dreams of legacy, of love, of anything beyond this velvet cage of wealth and isolation. "Why me?" she whispered to the empty room, her voice fracturing like fine china. In that shattering instant, Isabella Voss, billionaire heiress to Voss Industries, wasn't a titan of tech or a tabloid darling. She was just a girl, unraveling, her heart a battlefield where hope lay bleeding. Isabella's world blurred into a haze of silk sheets and shadowed corners, the penthouse a fortress against the city's relentless pulse. Denial wrapped around her like the cashmere throw her assistant draped over her shoulders each dawn, whispering assurances that today would be better. "It's just fatigue," she'd murmur to her reflection in the floor-to-ceiling mirrors, tracing the hollows beneath her eyes with manicured fingers that once signed multi-million-dollar deals. The pain was a lie, she'd convince herself, a dramatic flourish from a body spoiled by excess, not the cruel unraveling of nerves and sinew that the doctors had diagrammed in cold charts. She rose at noon, forcing her legs to steady as she paced the gallery of family portraits, her mother's laugh frozen in oil, her father's hand on her tiny shoulder at a ribbon cutting for their first solar farm. Betrayal stung sharper than the fibromyalgia flares. They'd left her not just orphaned, but adrift in a sea of lawyers and legacy, their absence a void that echoed in every board meeting where executives eyed her like a fragile heirloom. Pain crept in uninvited, a tidal wave crashing over the levees of her denial. It started in her fingertips, a tingling numbness that spread like frostbite during a virtual investor call, her voice faltering as she pitched Voss's latest AI ethics initiative. "I'm fine," she snapped when her PA, Elena, hovered with a tray of ginger tea. But alone, curled on the chaise by the window overlooking Central Park, the sobs came unbidden. Her body betrayed her as her parents had, vanished without warning, leaving wreckage. The yacht's official report cited mechanical failure, but whispers in the family vault spoke of sabotage, a rival shadow in the storm. Isabella had buried that grief under empire building, 18 and armored in power suits, but now it festered, manifesting in fevers that soaked her linens and joints that screamed with every step. "I don't need pity," she'd hiss at the mirror, but the lie tasted bitter. Elena, a soft-spoken woman in her 40s with laugh lines earned from raising 3 boys alone, became her unwitting confessor. One evening, as Isabella winced through a massage that felt like sandpaper on raw skin, Elena paused, her hands gentle. "Miss Voss, pain isn't just in the body. It's a story we tell ourselves. What story are you carrying?" The question pierced like a scalpel, but Isabella deflected with a brittle laugh. "The story of a girl who is everything and feels nothing." Denial held firm, a shield against the abyss, but cracks formed in the quiet hours. She'd wander the penthouse at midnight, trailing fingers along the spines of her father's leather-bound journals, visions of sustainable energy that had built their fortune. Flipping one open, she found a note in his scrawl. "Isabella, my star, strength isn't in the storm, it's in sailing through it." Tears blurred the ink, and for the first time, she allowed the pain to speak, not as enemy, but as echo of loss. A stranger's call came then, routed through Elena. Marcus Hale, a black single dad and Army veteran, recommended by a holistic clinic in Harlem. His voice over the line was gravel-warm, laced with a southern drawl that evoked magnolias and resolve. "Heard about your fight, ma'am. Ain't no doctor, but I've stared down worse than pain. Got a daughter who taught me miracles ain't always in pills. Isabella hung up, dismissing him as another charlatan chasing her checkbook. Yet his words lingered, a seed in the barren soil of her denial. As weeks bled into a monotonous rhythm of 4 drips and ignored invitations to galas, the pain deepened, carving hollows in her spirit. One rainy afternoon, Marcus arrived unannounced, Elena letting him pass security with a nod of quiet faith. He was broad-shouldered, his fade haircut graying at the temples, eyes like polished obsidian, holding stories of sand-swept deployments and a divorce that left him raising Lila, his 9-year-old with cystic fibrosis. In his hands, not a briefcase, but a worn thermos of sweet tea and a small potted succulent. "Plants don't quit," he said simply, setting it on her windowsill. "They bend, but they reach for light." Isabella, swaddled in a robe that swallowed her frame, eyed him warily from the sofa. 25 specialists quit on me, Mr. Hale. What makes you think a houseplant will save me?" He didn't flinch, settling into a chair with the ease of a man who'd faced IEDs. "Ain't here to save you, Miss Voss. Here to remind you that healing starts when you stop fighting the bend." Their first session unfolded slowly, Marcus guiding her through breathwork that felt absurd. Inhale the hurt, exhale the hold. Denial warred within her. This is nonsense. I'm Isabella Voss. I command boardrooms, not my breath. But as her chest rose and fell under his steady gaze, fragments surfaced. The yacht's last photo, her parents waving from the deck, oblivious to the shadow on the horizon. Betrayal's sharp edge, the executor's sly smile when he siphoned funds into offshore accounts, exposed only after her frantic audits. Pain bloomed, not just physical, but a grief she'd numbed with mergers and midnight workouts. Marcus shared sparingly. His tours in Afghanistan, the shrapnel scar hidden under his sleeve, the night Lila's lungs failed and he begged God in a VA waiting room. Denial's a foxhole, ma'am. Keeps you safe till it caves in. Isabella's voice cracked. I can't feel it all. It'll drown me." He nodded, no judgment. "Then we'll float a little at a time. Lila says pain's like a storm cloud, scary, but it waters the garden after." Small victories flickered like distant lightning. The succulent's first new leaf, coaxed by Isabella's tentative watering. A walk to the penthouse terrace, Marcus at her elbow, where autumn leaves whispered of release. Internal dialogues shifted. What if the pain isn't punishment? What if it's the map to what's left? Elena joined once, bringing photos of her son's soccer games, her warmth a bridge. "We all carry ghosts, Isabella. Yours don't define you, they refine you." As the chapter of denial frayed, pain settled not as conqueror, but companion, urging her toward the reflection waiting in the wings. Reflection came like dawn after an endless night, soft and insistent, pulling Isabella from the wreckage of her armored heart. The penthouse, once a gilded tomb, softened under slanted winter light filtering through blinds she'd drawn against the world. Marcus's visits became ritual. Tuesdays with tea, Thursdays with Lila in tow, the girls' braids adorned with beads that clicked like tiny wind chimes. Isabella watched them from her perch on the sofa, Marcus braiding Lila's hair with calloused fingers while recounting folktales of Anansi the spider, trickster who wove wisdom from webs of woe. "See, baby girl, even the smallest thread holds the whole story," he'd say, glancing at Isabella with a knowing tilt. She joined haltingly, her body a reluctant participant, joints protesting each shift. But in those pauses, reflection bloomed. Who was I before the loss? Before the billions became bars? Pain lingered, a faithful shadow, but now it invited questions rather than commands. Isabella delved into her father's journals, not as heir, but as daughter, tracing his sketches of wind turbines with a pencil of her own. Betrayal's sting, the executor's embezzlement, uncovered in a haze of feverish nights, transformed from venom to lesson. "I trusted too blindly," she confessed one evening to Marcus, as snow dusted the city below. He leaned back, thermos steaming between them. "Trust ain't blind, Miss Voss. It's brave. You got betrayed 'cause you dared to believe. That's not weakness. That's the root of real power." His words unlocked a flood. Memories of her mother's lullabies in the nursery wing, now silent. The boardroom coup attempt, foiled only by her unyielding audits despite the pain. Internal whispers evolved. Failure isn't the fall, it's refusing to rise. Lila, sensing the shift, toddled over with a crayon drawing, a stick figure girl under a rainbow, labeled Bella Strong. Daddy says you're like me, sick sometimes, but you fight with heart, the child lisped, climbing into Isabella's lap. The weight was anchor and wings. Isabella's arms encircled her, tears silent and cleansing. In that embrace, warmth pierced the isolation, a stranger's child sparking realization that vulnerability wasn't void, but vessel. Struggles wove through the days, relatable in their raw humanity. A flare pinned her to bed for 3 days, denial's ghost whispering give up, but reflection countered with Marcus's breathwork, Elena's stories of her own widowhood. Grief's a thief, but it leaves gifts if you look, Elena said, folding laundry beside the bed, her hands steady as a mother's. Isabella reflected on her trauma, the yacht's vanishing not just loss, but theft of innocence, leaving her to helm a ship at 16. Small victories mounted, a Zoom call where she delegated without apology, admitting her limits, a journal entry not of deals, but dreams, mentoring girls in STEM, unburdened by empire's weight. Marcus mentored without preaching, sharing his own reflection over Lila's bedtime tales. War took my legs' ease, divorce my illusions. But Lila? She's my mirror, shows me grace I forgot. One night, as Lila dozed on the rug, Isabella probed deeper. How do you carry it all? The battles, the single nights? He paused, eyes distant. By remembering, wounds heal crooked sometimes, but they heal. Yours will too, make them beautiful scars. Pacing slowed to savor the unfolding. Mornings tracing constellations on the ceiling, afternoons in the kitchen attempting Marcus's gumbo, laughter bubbling when spice singed her tongue. Interactions deepened, a call to the betrayer executor, not for vengeance, but closure. You took pieces of me, but not my fire. His stuttered apology was hollow, but her release was gold. Lila became Muse, her cystic fibrosis a parallel path. Together, they planted more succulents, naming them after heroes. Harriet for resilience, Maya for voice. Growth ain't linear, Bella, Lila declared, dirt-smudged cheeks glowing. It's like my lungs, bad days, good days, but always breathing. Wisdom from a child's warmth. Isabella realized her trauma's grip loosened not by force, but forgiveness. Of self, of the sea, of the boardroom wolves. Personal growth unfurled like those tender leaves, green against winter's pallor. Isabella stepped beyond the penthouse, Marcus at her side for a Harlem walk, his neighborhood's soul food spots and stoop symphonies a balm to her sterile heights. Strangers nodded hellos, their unpolished lives a revelation. Strength in simplicity, not spreadsheets. Internal dialogues crowned triumphant. Asterisk, I am not my loss. I am the light that finds its way through. Asterisk, a pivotal dawn. She faced the mirror unadorned. No makeup, no armor, seeing not fragility, but ferocity etched in laugh lines yet to come. Marcus arrived to find her packing a small bag. VA clinic tomorrow. And after? Voss board meeting. My terms. He grinned, pride paternal. That's the miracle, right there. Not me, you. As spring hinted at the windows, Isabella's body steadied. Not cured, but allied. The miracle wasn't absolution from pain, but alliance with it. Emotional peace in accepting scars as stories, renewal in roots regrown. In the quiet rebirth of her spirit, Isabella Voss emerged not unbroken, but beautifully mended, a testament that true wealth lies in the heart's quiet revolutions. Embrace your shadows, for they carve space for stars. Self-acceptance is the dawn that follows the fiercest night, whispering, you are enough, whole in your wholeness, renewed in every breath you claim as your own. Moral of the story. Healing is not the erasure of wounds, but the alchemy of turning them into wisdom. True inner strength blooms when we cease warring with our pain and begin walking beside it, hand in hand with those who remind us we are never alone in the journey toward wholeness.